We have come to our last session of our press conference with the media fraternity. Once again, we congratulate Cimerwa for listing on Rwanda Stock Exchange. And we thank our guests that are still with us. And also, we appreciate the media. Without you, I don't think would be doing a great job. So we thank you also for being part of our team, partners in development of the capital market at large. Please feel free. This event was conducted in English. However, there are people out there who wish to own shares of this company, but who only speak Kinyarwanda or French, either way. So feel free to ask in any language. Preferably, Kinyarwanda would be much better because at least most of the speeches were said in English. So feel free to ask in any other language. Without much ado, allow me to invite our guests. Please, if you could introduce yourself, I will request our CEO to start first so that we can conduct our media briefing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess you know me. I am your host today as we are receiving Cimerwa as Rwanda Stock Exchange. I'm the CEO, PLC Listing. We are happy to take any questions, but otherwise a small introduction to this. Cimerwa is coming as a 10th company in our market. We've been working on introducing more companies and more investors into our market for the past, actually January 31st, Rwanda Stock Exchange will be 10 years old operationally. So if you recall, we launched officially the RSC in 2011, 31st January. So we can confidently say that, we've tried. This journey has been long, and it's been a good one. I think we have a good momentum, despite all the problems we are having across the globe. And the economies and markets, especially the equities markets, have been hammered across the globe, especially in our part of the world. Liquidity has become an issue, but there are some measures we are trying to work on, like market making, to make sure that it works. And regional integration with our counterparts, and also full automation for easing and making our market more efficient. So Cimerwa is coming to our market today. You will get more in, you have our speeches, and we will have also a press brief to share with you later on today. But it's a good move for us, and we have many more to come. But today is about Cimerwa. So I will not take too long because I don't want to preempt what you are going to be asking. Otherwise, thank you again for joining. I let my other colleagues introduce themselves. Actually, you know everyone by now, and we take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO, Rwanda Stock Exchange. Yes, please.
Good morning once again. My names are Albert Sige. I am the Cimerwa CEO. Happy to be here and join you again to make further clarifications that you may require. We are very happy to be the 10th listed company on the RSC, which is a critical milestone. And I think, Celeste, when we were speaking a few days ago, you said most stock exchanges have got, was it BSC? Banking?
It's called BBC, Banks, Breweries, and Cement Companies. So we were lacking the C. Now it has made it into the trading floor. BBC, Banks, Breweries, and Cement Companies. So that's a traditional, actually it's something that all markets do in general. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. So we are very happy to tick two boxes today as Cimerwa. One is to be the 10th, and the other one is to complete the acronym, the BBC. So we are bringing on board the C, So Cimerwa becomes, complete just like the other exchanges. Thank you very much. Very happy to join you again.
Good morning. I'm called Patrick Marara Shaka. I'm the acting CEO of Agaciro Development Fund. As the others have already mentioned, it's also a pleasure to be part of this team listing Cimerwa. Thank you so much.
Good morning once again. I'm Eric Bundugu. I'm the Acting Executive Director of the Capital Market Authority. Pleasure to be here to answer a few questions you may have on this transaction.
Thank you, executives. I request the protocol at least to reserve some mics for the media. Please, the media, you mentioned the company you're coming from or the media house you're coming from. Thank you very much. I'm told the mics are, well, we can borrow one of our guests, probably.
Murakoze, nitwa Jean Claude Mutuyezu, ni umunyamakuru wa RBA. Ikibazo cyane ndakibaza CEO RIC, sorry. Mu myaka 10 ishize twagira ngo mudufashe kumva neza kuba habonetse ibigo ko tuvuga icyenda kwera ko icya 18 ariko kigitangira. Nuhe musaruro byatanze cyane cyane mu bijyanye n'ubwitabire bwo kuba abanyarwanda baba bakumva akamaro ka bene irishoramari. Murakoze.
Ndumva navuga ibintu nka bitatu. Ubwitabire ku isoko ry'imari n'imigabane ni ukubanza kubyumvira ku kintu cya mbere impamvu riba ryagiyeho. Icya mbere ni uguhuza ni ugukusanya amafaranga yo ishoramari ryimbitse ry'igihe kirekire muri ekonomi y'igihugu. Isoko ryahuje abantu benshi. Kugeza umunota amafaranga amaze kunyura muri iri soko kuva twatangira amaze kurenga miliyari na miliyoni 200, miliyari na miliyoni 200 z'amadolari, 1.2 at least amaze kunyuramo ayo isoko ryashize amafaranga abaturage bashoye mu bigo bitandukanye n'ibicuruzwa biri ku isoko nayo batradinze hagati yabo, nayo bagiye bahinduranya intoki hagati yabo. Icyo ni icyambere. Hamaze kuzaho societe zigeze ku 10, ibi ni ya 10 nyine mu buryo bwo kuza gushyira imigabane yayo ku isoko. Bivuze ngo abashoramari barajemo. Tumaze kugira abantu amakonti y'ishoramari kugeza uyu munota tubaza individuellement byo twita CSD accounts zirenze 21,000 kugeza uyu munsi. Turi aho ngaho muri iki gihe. Ariko ibyo ntabwo ari ukuvuga ko ari bo bonyine, hari n'abandi baza mu buryo bwo kwishyira hamwe. Iyo uvuze ubwitabire buranarenga. Ubwo tugiye gushyiramo abaza tuvuge bagiye mu iterambere fund bari mu byatumye mu bashora amafaranga mu isoko no mu zindi pension n'abandi bagenda baza bamaze kurenga abo ngabo cyane ku buryo bumeze gutyo. Ubwo rero 80% hejuru ya 80% n'abaturage basanzwe bo mu Rwanda, indi 15 at least ni abaturuka muri aka karere dutuyemo, na 3% akaba ari baturuka mu bihugu byo hanze ya East African Community. So mu by'ukuri umusaruro wa mbere n'uwo nguwo bwo kwa amafaranga yarakusanyijwe ku isoko ari menshi, ageze kuri ayo ngayo kuri icyo kigero. Ubwo rero ubundi ikindi navuga ubwo ni ibisanzwe bya corporate governance n'ibyo byose ukuntu ubwitabire bugenda buza kandi abantu baragenda biyongera. Iyo turebye nk'ikigereranyo urebye ku bantu bagenda bitabira, tuvuge muri iyi minsi cyane cyane hakunze kugaragara ko hazi impapuro z'umwenda mesha mwenda za leta za bon, ubwitabire bw'abaturage buragenda bwiyongera kurushaho ku buryo bamaze kurenga, urebye kuri moyenne bari hejuru y'10%. Ubundi mu bihugu tujya nko mu bihugu duturanye twigereranya nabyo rimwe na rimwe nta nubwo wabagera no kuri 5%. Ubwo rero n'undi musaruro ntekereza ko ubwitabire ku isoko ry'imari n'imigabane bugenda bwiyongera no mu baturage basanzwe n'ibigo bigenda bitugana cyane cyane. Ubwo hari n'ibindi biri mu nzira birimo kubyitegura kuba byaza ku isoko. So ndumva rero ari ibyo ngibyo navuga kuri icyo kibazo.
Thank you. For the purpose of the CEO Cimerwa, probably who doesn't understand Kinyarwanda, I request CEO after this briefly to highlight exactly what they have said. In order to not to use one mic, I'll request those who don't have a loud voice can come here and use the platform and ask your question. Right? I think you came first, please come forward.
Murakoze, nitwa Ndahaye Emmanuel, nturutse mu Gihe Limited. So nari mfite ibibazo bibiri nifuza kubaza Cimerwa. Icya mbere nuko nkuko bizwi kugeza ubu ngubu hari abanenga Cimerwa bavuga yuko nubwo ikorera sima mu Rwanda ariko hari sima ituruka hanze usanga ibihendutse kurusha ya Cimerwa ikorera mu Rwanda. Ese ni iki uruganda rwiteguye gukora kuri icyo kibazo, na cyane yuko nkuko noneho rugiye ku isoko ry'imari n'imigabane bishobora kuba byakwintayisinga cyangwa se byatuma abantu barushaho kugura imigabane yarwo mu gihe sima yaba ihendutse n'ubundi kurusha zituruka hanze. Ikindi uruganda rwa Cimerwa kuri ubu ngubu ntabwo rurakorera kuri capacity yarwo 100%. Mu mibare twabonye mu bitabo mwaduhaye nuko rugeze kuri 80% nyuma y'amavugurura yagiye akorwa kuva muri 2016. Ese ni iki uruganda ruri gukora, iyindi investment wenda rwaba ruteganya gukora kugira ngo rugere 100%? Maybe bishobora no gutuma na yasima ihenduka kuko rwaba rukora byinshi. Murakoze.
Thank you very much. I think his question was directed to the CEO of Cimerwa, and I translate that since in the market you find that Cimerwa cement is quite more expensive compared to other companies that are supplying cement in Rwanda. Since you have come to the Rwanda Stock Exchange, what strategies that you have that at least that may lower prices so that your cement may be more competitive with the other cement that are being supplied in Rwanda? The second question is, since your company, you say that it's growing at 40%, if I recall well, what strategies, and since you're not producing at the capacity of the industry itself, what strategies do you have so that at least you can come at the full capacity, so that at least the shareholders that who are going to buy these shares can be comfortable with Cimerwa? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. Let me begin with the question on selling prices. As at today, if you go to the market, you will find that cement is being sold at 12,000, 13,000, I think even some places 14,000 per bag. We find this to be unacceptable because this is people taking advantage, the traders taking advantage of the challenges that have come with the COVID. Now, the price that Cimerwa sells a bag of cement today to the market is about 9,500. It's less than 10,000. So the people who are adding the price to 12, 13, 14 are simply exploiting the situation. And we are working very closely with the relevant authorities, especially Minicom, to speak to these traders and also to speak to to engage, those people in the supply chain who are taking advantage of the situation. So that is the first point. The second point is, if you compare how much we sell our cement today in the market to how much the imported brands are being sold, in fact today, Cimerwa, our selling price to the market is lower. We are selling at about 9,500, and the imported brands are selling at 10,500, some 11, others even more than that. That is the selling price to the trade before the traders then sell to the individual consumers. So as we speak today, the company that has the lowest selling price in the market is Cimerwa. I just thought I should make that clarification. And on the other question is about the growing demand, and I think it's a really good question, because indeed, as you have indicated this, and as the guest of honor and other speakers indicated earlier on, the cement sector is growing at a very fast pace, almost 10%, give or take. The market size is about 800,000 tons. Now, 10% of that is almost 80,000. So every year, the country needs an additional almost 80,000 tons. This is a lot of cement. Now, Cimerwa, as you know, our design capacity is about 600,000 tons. And as you have seen in the prospectus, which I believe all of you received, we started from a capacity of 50,000 tons during formation in 1984, and then we moved to a capacity of 100,000 tons, and then in 2015 we made further investment and came to the design capacity of close to of 600,000 tons. Now, cement being a heavy machinery, heavy capital sector, when you invest, you take a few years to do what we call ramp up. Basically, to come from 100,000, you put in the machines, you take 2-3 years to ramp up to reach the 600,000. So this is what has happened between 2015 and now. We have moved from the 100,000, and as we speak today, over the last 3 months, like the guest of honor said, we have had a very good production run, and our plant has been operating at close to design capacity, almost 600,000. But as you will notice, even if we were to produce fully, the market is higher, like you rightly put it. So apart from other investors coming in, and I'm sure you've heard of this in the public, we as Cimerwa are also actively working to increase our capacity, again as indicated in the prospectus, to go beyond the 600,000, more than 600,000 over the coming few years by making the current facilities even more efficient. But more than that, we also have in mind to make new investment, additional cement capacity over the coming years, and I think all that is in the prospectus. So yes, so we are keen to continue to exploit the market growth by making further investment in order to satisfy the demand and in order also to increase the company's performance. And this is because we are confident, as I said during my speech, confident in our potential, and also we are confident about Rwanda being a great country with stable fundamentals. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please, Magnus, you're next.
Good morning, gentlemen. No lady there. I have a question for CEO Marara. What is your motivation for leaving Cimerwa when everyone here is saying this is a company with potential, there's huge opportunities ahead? Why would you leave an investment that everyone is hungry for? And could you also tell us the funds that will come out from the shares that have been surrendered, where are they going to be invested? The CEO Rwanda Stock Exchange, can you tell us who else is about to list? And for today's, in the initial trading that I saw there, could you give us a little summary or a snippet of who bought who took over the shares? For Mr. Sigay, congratulations. I wanted to find out what does it mean for government to leave for you? Does it mean a no confidence, freedom? Describe to us what it means that the biggest investor, the largest investor, actually one of the biggest buyers is leaving the company. What does it mean? What does it reflect? Thank you.
Yes, I think we shall start with the CEO Agaciro Development Fund. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I think one thing that I want to say is that Agaciro Development Fund has the shareholders' government, and many factors have been told about the listing. And as Agaciro, which has the majority shareholder and the only one as government, there are different factors. The government has never, technically, I think Cimerwa is part of the Rwandan market, and to say that government through Agaciro is moving, I think let us get the message properly. It's not actually moving, it's giving opportunity, because there are many factors that have been mentioned about this listing. One of it is resuming trading in the Rwandan stock market. That's the purpose of listing, to show that business has resumed. The second part of it is bringing to the market Cimerwa. I think all of you know that Cimerwa's had a good history in the Rwandan infrastructure sector. So bringing it to the market is actually exposing it, marketing it, and letting it also benefit from the advantages of being on the Rwanda Stock Exchange. And then the third part of it is business. I think all of you, at one point or another, you have contributed to Agaciro Development Fund. First of all, let me take again this opportunity to thank each and everyone. And you know very well that there was a time when we announced the ceasing of your contribution, but we need to continue growing Agaciro Fund, which is our fund. So it's about trading, buying and selling. And what you have brought is an opportunity to the public also to be a shareholder and not holding Cimerwa, because I think you know very well that the government has been in Cimerwa for a long time. Why not giving opportunities to others also to be part of it? I think it's about that, nothing else. Thank you so much. And the second question has been what will the fund that will come out of this listing be used? I think you should be aware that Agaciro, like any other investment arm of the government, there are different projects in the pipelines. What we need is to be ready to be able to fund any other project that is coming on board. And today, there are different aspects that the government is looking to invest in under the NST1. And as Agaciro Development Fund, we need to have and to be ready for it. So there are different projects in the pipeline, and based on the shareholders' directive, we need to be ready to invest I think that's why the fund is available, and that's why we do the trading. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. I think, Magnus, you're convinced that all of us who are here, we need to save and invest for long term in this in Cimerwa. Allow me to invite CEO Rwanda Stock Exchange to also answer your questions. Please, CEO, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I will start with the easiest one. Who bought today? It's obvious. Number 10, broker 10 is who? It's More Capital. They bought 6,000 shares. At this point, we can't tell really who is the end buyer, because we get to know that when they bring proper allocation form after the market trading, market hours. Then they bought from Bank of Kigali. The seller was Bank of Kigali. So what that simply means, it means that it's someone, a customer belonging to Bank of Kigali is the one who has sold. And customer belonging to More Capital, which is another brokerage firm, is also the one who has bought. So we know the end client later. Of course, we don't disclose, client information. It's like saying, oh, who opened the account at Bank of Kigali today? You don't get to know that. So account holders, we don't disclose their names, but their representatives, yes, because this is a marketplace. So that's the easiest question. So now we go to the other one. Who's listing? Who's coming? Good question. My guess is as mine. But I happen to have maybe more information than you on companies which are working on their products. We have a few companies doing documentation. Actually, my colleague Eric maybe knows more than myself, because he's the regulator, he's our boss, all of us. So maybe I will pass this one on to him because you have to remember one thing. Companies coming to market, they get permission with their offer documents from the regulator. That's the Capital Market Authority. So you apply to list your company, you apply to raise money, or whatever you want to do in the market, which has to do with the public, to the regulator. Then after that, you also, of course, at the same time apply to the exchange for listing purposes. Remember, right now from this time on, all this counter of Cimerwa and the others on the market will will be trading on the stock exchange. That's secondary market trading. That's where role starts from. But I would not really precise which companies, but we have a few that are working on documentation. Maybe I can pass on my colleague, Eric, my boss, the regulator. He knows better than me, probably. Thank you.
Thank you, Celestine, for putting me on the spot. But I think we work together, the Capital Market Authority and Rwanda Stock Exchange. What I can say about that question is that it's true, there are some companies that are working towards meeting the regulatory requirement to be able to secure approval to come to the market. However, being a regulator, and for confidentiality purposes, I will not be able to disclose the details about the companies because this is work in progress. However, what I can confirm to you is we are seeing a very positive trend from the private sector from the private sector, businesses start to embrace the capital market as a source for raising long-term funding. As I mentioned in my remarks earlier, this used to be a typical myth from the private sector. As you can see on the companies that we have listed on the stock exchange, majority came in as part of government privatization process. So we are really thankful and appreciating the government efforts to develop our market. Now, on the few applications we actually have had, actually people are working on, most of them are from the private sector. So this is a very positive signal that we are seeing as far as market development is concerned. However, maybe on the timeline, I hope maybe you will hear from the market on those new listings. I don't want to be precise on the timeline because it depends on the dynamics of being ready by those companies. But be assured that the market is ready for private sector businesses to raise capital. We have the legal and regulatory framework which is ready. I mean laws, regulations that allow different products to be tapped into. We are very aware about most of them came in as an IPO, initial public offer. However, we are even explaining to these private sector companies that raising capital, it's not only on equity, but you can raise capital through debt, doing a corporate bond, raising money through real estate investment trust. This is another product. So without going into technicalities, the legal framework that is in place actually allows all kind of capital market product to be tapped into. So we are working with the Rwanda Stock Exchange, and actually our transaction advisors, brokers who are advising these companies are working hard to make sure that we go beyond the 10th company and have even more. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Eric. Dear CEO Cimerwa, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Tarifa, for that question. I like to look at it not as more as a government leaving, but more as a visionary government taking a strategic step, which is in the wider interest of the country. And I'll just explain what I mean by that by repeating basically what my colleagues here have said. The CEO Agashiro has explained about the objectives of having the fund, so I'm not going to repeat that. So you've got to think about it in that perspective, that it has it looks at this step as part of achieving the objectives of having that fund. And also, if you think about it, this step of the government offering these shares is giving opportunity, like my colleague said, to the private sector, to citizens of Rwanda, institutional and retail, to participate in the capital markets and the stock exchange. And again, as Rwanda, being very visionary and really thinking big. There is the wider objective of development of the stock exchange and the capital markets. So these kind of moves are exactly what is needed to move in that direction. So I like to look at it from a positive angle in this manner. I hope that answers your question, Magnus.
Thank you, CEO. Please, RCC wants to add something.
Hari akantu gato nashaka kongeraho ndakavuga no mu Kinyarwanda binumvikane kuko abanyamakuru mugira wide reach. Nuko kugurisha kw'imigabane from Agaciro, they belong to government, of course. Sibyo ni shares za leta, ni z'abaturage n'ubusanzwe taxpayers. Rero gahunda ya leta mu by'ukuri muzi neza ko isanzwe ishaka gukora ibintu byitwa privatization. Ntabwo ari ukwera ko leta yakennye, byumvikane neza, ntabwo yakennye, n'ibintu bisanzwe muri gahunda yayo bimaze igihe kugira ngo leta ikomeze ishyiraho good governance, kugira ngo ishyiraho ibyo twita level playing field for everyone. Ntabwo ifite gahunda yo kuguma muri business kandi aba private players bashobora kuzamo n'abaturage bagahabwa amahirwe yo kuba baza ku isoko binyuze mu Gaciro, kuko muzi ko yari ko gasigaye kamanaginga assets za leta, amasosiyete amwe namwe bagiye bayaga kugira ngo kayamanaginga, ko nibyo bakora umunsi ku wundi. Government iri busy ishyiraho amategeko na environment yo gukora business n'ibindi, mutekano n'ibindi ngibyo byose. Ni icyo ngicyo cyane cyane. Rero n'abandi bashareholders, abanyamigabane bandi barimo ntabwo bashaka kwirukanga ngo bavemo, ahubwo barimo bashaka kugira price discovery cyane. Babonye ubungura bose bagiyemo kera n'abacuruzi bavamo. So ubwo rero nagira ngo ngaho humvikane cyane, ntihagire ugira ubwoba wenda ngo abantu bavuyemo. Cimerwa isigaye yonyine, Albert asubiyemo. I will explain to you later that one. but ntabwo asigaye wenyine kuko ni process isanzwe normal. Abacuruzi bahora bacuruza, ni icyo ngicyo nashaka kongeraho.
Thank you very much, CEO. For the interest of time, shall take more few questions, please. Once again, see your name, the media house that you're coming from, and your question. Straight.
All right. My name is Leonce Movonyi. I work for the East African. My two questions, one to Celeste. You've just juxtaposed on the digitization of the market. Could you please tell us a bit on the roadmap?
Okay, well, you know, that question is again another hard one, but this time around it's an easier one to talk about. We've been talking about automation for many years. We've started our own automation as Rwanda. We got ready. Then East African community, because we don't live in isolation, we are trying to work on it at the same time as our counterparts in the region. So it's a project we call Capital Market Infrastructure, which has another concurrent project going together, which has been working on a legal framework to have one single capital market in East Africa with the same standards. So we've created, I think, 24 directives of East African community to help cross-border business within the capital markets. So that is for the exchanges, market players, brokers, everyone, and the companies that want to raise money and cross-list with each other. So now, the second part of that infrastructure is what we are going to leverage on to also automate our trading platform. You know, as Rwanda Stock Exchange, you know, we've had a settlement process which is fully automated, straight through processing. So it's automated. But the small part remaining is the trading platform, which we have really accomplished maybe 99% now. So actually the testing has started with our counterparts. The region, it's a project we are working on with Nairobi, Tanzania, Uganda, all the East African community players who have stock markets, including Burundi, which does not even have a market yet, but they are part of the larger East African community. So we estimate to have all the nitty-gritties worked on by next month. Actually, we should have a system ready to be operated. The exact time of launching it, we will make sure we will inform the general public when it will happen. So the moment we go live on this capital market infrastructure project, we are going to make, we are going to also have an opportunity to be linked to the other regional market players. So that is the stock exchanges in the region. So technically, project is almost complete. Actually, testing is there. We have to go live, what we call go live, in stabilization of the project, of the system, anytime from next month, because the machines actually are being tested as we speak.
Yeah. And the second question was regarding to the current situation. Not only Rwanda, but all the world is under the COVID stress, the COVID-19 stress. How this pandemic has affected the market, and to Cimerwa, is this a good time for maybe for a company to cross-list while the world is under this stress? Thank you.
Well, I think it was said before. One of the speakers actually mentioned it in the speeches. Actually, a few of them actually mentioned that. You know, there's a saying I borrow from Wall Street. You know, it's Wall Street is the financial capital of the world if you talk about capital markets in general. So they say it's always good when there is blood on the streets. So you go into a market when everyone is crying because things are really mayhem. You understand? So way. So people are struggling. The market is very low. People are having problems, but you know, economies come back, they bounce back. So COVID is just another chapter in our life, which we are dealing with as a whole world. But as Rwanda, you have seen itself, and we have been fighting it as a country with a serious resolve, and we are not going to remain here with turmoil. Business will return to normal eventually. Maybe not necessarily the normal we are used to in the past before COVID. People will be trying to preempt, but business will return. But as you can see, you know, you've heard it from Cimerwa. Cimerwa has had the best time of their history in terms of production. Last month, I think is July, they produced 55,000 tons in 1 month. That's already actually, it looks like it's more than the capacity they have. If they produce 55,000 tons per 1 month, for a period of 12 months, it goes beyond already capacity they have at the plant. That's 600,000 tons they have to do per year. You do the math, you will get to see that. So that shows already signs of growth. So when this pandemic is finally over, investors will be looking where to put their money. And where do they go? They go to the most productive sectors of the economy. They go to the most promising countries and regions of the world. Investors are always pursuing profits. So I think with the infrastructure projects the country has, and things that Cimerwa is dealing with, I don't see any issue with it going forward because the economy has come back. And Rwanda is positioning itself to be there when things return to normal. So I think investors are always smart. They are smarter than we are. So they are watching and seeing what Rwanda is doing at large and the regional blocks we are operating in. I think the general trends should be good in future. Maybe not necessarily now, but things are low now. But you buy the future, whether you don't buy the past or the present. Because at the end of the day, investors are looking for a return in the future, not now. Thank you. Maybe my colleagues can add something.
Thank you. I think it's a good question, but also we have to look at it. I hope I'm audible enough. That question has been told every time, why now, why now, why now? Sometimes we need also to ask ourselves, if not now, when then? Our experts in the economies, they're not even giving us the feedback of saying when. Previously they said, okay, by end of June. It went to July. Now we're entering August, September. People have resumed work. So someone has to take a move to be able to resume work. And that's why the purpose of even the Rwanda Stock Exchange should be active at the same process. And the second part of it, when they say that everyone is badly off, we know very well that money moves from one pocket to another. Now, who has the money now? If no one has the money, where is the money? Nindu ifite. Irihishe somewhere. Nukuvuga ko niba yavuye mu mufuka w'umuntu umwe, yagiye mu mufuka wundi. Maybe it's an opportunity kuriya kugira ngo abikore, agure. And then the third part of it, bring any other company. Please, we couldn't bring any other company. We brought Cimerwa because it is a company that's well known, well performing, a company that sells its product immediately out of production. That's why we brought Cimerwa, nothing else. Because we know it's a company that really sells itself. It's marketable. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if you allow, I could just add on that. I think you have put it very well, Patrick and Celeste. Yeah, we cannot remain frozen in time and wait. We have to be part of the solution. Even if there is COVID, let us find out how to work while being careful, because it's a new thing as we try and find, understand it until we get a vaccine. So as Cimerwa, we decided to be bold and continue with execution of our strategic initiatives. This was one of the key ones. So we decided to continue with that. And I think again, cement investment is a long-term investment. So we look at it from a long-term view. 2020, is a blip, and then things are going to come back to normal. So we like to ask ourselves, how does it look beyond 2020? And in fact, the impact of COVID in Rwanda is much better than in many countries. You heard what the guest of honor said. The GDP projections are projected to be anywhere between 2% and 4%. Other countries are having negative growth. Countries like the US, Europe, you're talking things like -20, -30. Around our neighbors, you're talking, minus. But Rwanda is one of the few that still at this stage is not projected to have an economic decline. So when you have a positive economic projection in spite of COVID, then the cement sector will also grow, and then things will come back to normal next year. So we decided to continue with our strategic initiatives. Now, the other point is the potential of Rwanda in terms of cement consumption. You had a very, very important statistic mentioned by the guest of honor, which was 57 kilos per capita. So every Rwandan citizen consumes about 1 bag of cement per year. This is very low. So it shows the potential. We need to move until, they are consuming even up to 20 times that. Yeah, so there's a lot of work to be done, and that's why we have confidence to execute this strategy of listing at this point in time, in spite of the challenges that the world is facing. Thank you.
Yes, in the interest of time, one more last question. The one behind Toya, please.
Thank you. Edwin Ashimwe from the New Times. All my questions, brief questions, are to Cimerwa. First of all, congratulations upon the development, but I'm curious to know, you're taking a very unfamiliar approach. Why is this so? And going by this, what kind of opportunities does this present to the region at large? And finally, basing on the share price movements, what are your expectations? Thank you.
Thank you very much, New Times. Maybe I'll start with the last question in terms of the share price. Now, we have listed at a share price of 120. In terms of expectations, I have to say the best determinant of that is going to be the market itself. It's only the market that can tell us, how the share price is going to move. However, as a company, what we pledge to do is to do our best so that we continue the good performance, which you have seen in the prospectus, a very good profitability growth, our borrowings going down. As you've seen, we are remaining with just about 40 billion, and we expect to finish off repaying the long-term loan that we had for building the plant by 2024. A very good improvement in cash generation. So what we can tell the market is that we have a solid strategy, we have a solid execution plan, we also have a solid team behind in terms of management, we also have a solid set of stakeholders, board members that are really committed to delivering the vision of the company. And if we do all those things, then the market is going to take the cue and take the signal, and we have no doubt that our share price will be robust in the market. Yeah. And then in terms of the approach taken, I think Celeste had commented on that a little bit, the listing by introduction. I believe that is what you're referring to. This approach of listing by introduction was selected as being the most convenient, especially during this period when we are going through the COVID challenges, because it allows the shareholders to go through a process of discovering the price on the market as they take their decisions about what to do with their shares. And it's also quite. So it was the one that is most convenient at this period in time. But I have to say the end result of it is that the company becomes listed just like it would have been listed if you had gone through other routes like the IPO. And the company will have some shares available for trading, which is what is called the free float. So at the end of the day, we still get the same end goal, which is to have the shares trading and also to have the benefits of being on the stock exchange, which is a much better profile, tax benefits, opportunities to fundraise, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so it's really we think was a very good decision for us.
Okay, we have come to the end of our session. Please just know that to let you know that we are circulating a press release. It will have all the content. Also, if you can go out with the prospectus, it also has all the information that could answer all your questions. And also, the stock exchange is always open. In case you need more information, you're most welcome. Allow us to thank our executives for such a wonderful time. I know they have busy schedules, but at least to have availed us this time, it's of issue of very important. Thank you very much, and have a blessed day. Yes, I'm told again, if you visit the Cimerwa website, you have all the content, you have a prospectus, and also it's also shared on the Rwanda Stock Exchange website. So probably you'll have more content of what you need. Thank you.